Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching today's episode of the Future Podcast. Today is episode 20.
20.
So we've hit another milestone in our
Big
journey.
2-0. Yes,
We're
sir.
getting closer and closer to the triple digits.
Yep,
And then from there, it's only up.
absolutely.
But today is a continuation of the phases. We'll have one more episode after this. And then that's when we'll get into the Christmas stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then after that, whatever y'all suggest or whatever we come up with, it'll be like it normally is, where we try to do something new every week.
Yeah.
Get some more eyes on the channel. But today is Phase 4. It's just the movies. So this episode is just going to be the Phase 4 movies. And the next episode will be all the shows we have so far.
Yeah.
We just kind of, like we mentioned previously, want to break that up. Kind of have the movies and then the shows because they scatter them a lot. Kind of just have a breakdown of those. We'll get into those, which ones we like, which ones we don't like, since the fans are very picky about that. We'll also include a few of the like Netflix shows that are canon now in the MCU, so that will be good also to do that. So it'll be the complete breakdown of the shows, and we'll get into that. But today it's just the movies.
Just the movies.
I couldn't. We're gonna be completely honest. Phase 4 is, to me, whenever they released them, it's very scattered.
Yeah.
It's hard with the timeline. There's three that really go in order, and that's obviously the two Spider-Mans and Doctor Strange. Those three
Yes.
are strictly, obviously, straight in order. Um, but I guess the top of my list, I just have Black Widow because it's a
Yeah.
prequel, so I feel like it comes before all the other ones, so that's what makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, this movie, a lot of fans
All right now.
aren't very happy with how this movie was. It was our COVID movie.
Yep.
Every franchise had a COVID movie. Unfortunately, the fans did not like Black Widow a lot. A lot of backlash.
I'm gonna let you finish because I want to talk about it too.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay. A lot of backlash. CGI had a lot of backlash on that.
Mm-hmm.
People thought it was way too late to give her an established movie when she died in the movie prior to it, so it kind of, why are we getting a prequel after she's dead? She had a contract, obviously, that's what it seems like,
Yeah.
and she didn't fulfill it, so they had to make her do a prequel. We should have got this probably in Phase 1 or 2, to be completely honest.
Like right after Iron Man 3.
Probably in that time frame, because that's when she, probably after Avengers, because that would have made sense for Hawkeye and her, maybe have like a duo origin movie, something of that sorts, but
one of the worst. Find out what happened in Budapest.
We'll never know.
No, we're never gonna know.
Unfortunately, it's one of the things we'll never know about the MCU. We also have one of the worst iterations of a villain, which is Taskmaster, which is one of my favorite villains. I love the way they did him in the Spider-Man video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very interesting character because he learns, keyword he in the comic books, he learns from who he's fighting, and he learns how you fight so you can't beat him. This movie, it was a girl who was a clone of a girl. The guy who ran the Red Rooms, it was his daughter who died, so he made a clone of her as Taskmaster.
There you go. Are we all following this? Because it is tricky.
It makes no sense.
This is fun.
It makes...
They're making it make sense.
They're trying to... It makes...
No, it makes sense because you're making it make sense. It makes zero sense if you just throw it out there to...
It was a good idea for her villain because she's a very combat-oriented villain, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe he'll be the ultimate villain and she doesn't win in the end. But then we find out, like, later, we'll see her and everything like that. And then it's just such a confusing movie because it's her origin movie, but then it also takes place right before Infinity War because that's why she's blonde in it.
Yes.
It's just, that movie's all over the place. I feel like it wasn't meant to be made when it was. So I'll watch it. There's some scenes that are okay in the movie, but I just don't care for it, to be honest. I don't.
I will watch it more than a handful of other MCU movies.
Yeah.
I will put it above Eternals. You know, there's certain
Captain
movies,
Marvels.
you know, Captain Marvel, the Marvels. Like, there's certain movies I'm going to put it above. Yes, I completely agree. They wasted way too many years not letting her do that. And I think that was their easy scapegoat because, like you said, it was during COVID. And they were like, well, we shouldn't have to use as much CGI on such a basic human type character. You know, we don't have to worry about her flying around. We don't have to worry about her doing moves like Captain America or anything. But the thing that ruined it, that stopped it from possibly becoming something good for us during a bad time like COVID,
Mm-hmm.
was the villain.
Yeah, terrible.
It was a letdown because they built it up
And then just
the best they could, and then it was like, well, that what?
and then the reveal, you're
Like, come on, man! Like,
they're trying to do redemption and
yeah,
Thunderbolts. I don't know how they're going. Everybody else in that movie, I'm excited to see. This one, it's like, can you just like redo it at that point? If
yeah,
you're gonna
right. Can we just
like,
a
it makes sense
variant?
for like Ghost to be in there from the
Yeah,
second Ant-Man. It's like, okay, she's getting her justice. All the other ones in there. I don't know. It's just they wasted such a good character.
mm-hmm.
In the worst way possible, I feel.
They really did, and it's not to say because they made it a female. It's just because it was such an outlandish, roundabout way of doing it. It was like, just be straightforward.
Just tell us you hired someone. You hired because Taskmaster is a hired assassin.
Yeah,
Just make him the guy who runs the Red Rooms. Just make it to where it's like, okay, well, he couldn't fight her, so we hired this guy to do it. That would have made so much sense. It's like,
yeah,
okay, it's perfect. You got
yeah,
somebody who's great at hand-to-hand combat to fight somebody you trained until she was a kid to kill people with her hands. Like, okay, that would have made perfectly sense. But you're just making it seem just so far-fetched and confusing for us.
mm-hmm.
And it's just that's where a lot of the backlash started. And you see that's where a lot of people say the downfall of the MCU started was right after Endgame was with Black Widow, Eternals, and
Yeah,
then a lot of people don't really care for the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I loved it.
And Phase
That one
4
I
and
will
Phase
defend.
5 have been tricky. We luckily
Yes,
were on an uprise again. Um, a few of the shows fans don't like, but Black Widow, I agree with most of the takes on when people say it's not very good.
mm-hmm.
I mean, phenomenal actors, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Um, Yelena is very good, and it's nice to see like parts of her family. Like the origin part of the beginning was really good because we got to understand,
it started really good.
and then it was just a decline from there.
It absolutely was. Like they hit us hard, like
Like
you
Red
said.
Guardian, love him, and that he's funny in that one.
I'm ready to see him in
Like I'll
Thunderbolts.
watch it because of him because he's blank on his name now that I'm thinking about, but he's great as the Red Guardian.
Yeah,
It'll be fun to see him in Thunderbolts, but there's key aspects to her to good, but when it comes to like the main purpose of the movie, I just don't care for it. I've seen it like a handful of times, obviously, because I watch
mm-hmm.
all of these a couple of times because you want to get the idea of it,
Why
you want to
not?
give it more chances.
Nothing else on.
It doesn't deliver for me. I don't do it. I can't do it. I don't know.
And I will watch it. I think when it comes on, more for the humor of it all, because
Hmm.
there are funny parts in the
When
movie.
they're eating dinner at the table,
Yeah,
and it's just there are
and
funny
her
parts to
making
it.
fun of her always posing after she does something. She's like, "Ah,
Like,
you're such a poser."
and then she does it, and she's all like
Like,
grossed out.
ugh.
It's like there are funny aspects to it.
Yeah,
It gave us some characters now that we're gonna see a lot of in the upcoming Phase 5. I mean, there's not much more to commentate on that one. I feel like it's a lot of our viewers are probably gonna agree with us, where it's not the most important movie. It
no,
seemed like it was one of those ones where they had nothing planned during COVID, and she had one more under contract, and they were like, well, we don't know how to use you anymore. We don't know where to put you anymore,
yeah,
so we're gonna throw it down the fans' throats. And this is one of the examples of when you give us something we didn't ask for
yes.
until 10 years later, that's what's gonna happen
Well, and I thought she got a huge injustice compared to, like, a Hawkeye got so much better treatment
in the show.
with the show than she
Yeah,
got with a standalone movie. And it's like, that's pretty harsh to one of the original Avengers.
yeah.
She was
She's been
there.
around since Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
It's like, dude,
And okay, you finally give her a standalone film, but what'd you do with it?
threw it away. I mean, we got a
Yeah.
cool, like her suit, the white suit is really cool. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see that in live action. It's one of the very, very, very few things that is a good takeaway from that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't care for it. I can live without it.
Yeah.
I have it on DVD because
Yes,
it
I do
fills in
too.
the void of my collection.
It goes in
Like we were
order,
saying
you know.
earlier, in the last episode, it's like I have a few of them on DVD to fill in the collection. There's a few more I really don't want on DVD. I'm gonna have to get. Um, you have to bite the bullet,
And we're gonna have to talk about that one eventually.
unfortunately. But my next one on the list, the next three really fall in line. I feel in my eyes at the exact same time,
Mm-hmm.
and the next three are gonna be Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Far From Home. Um, we'll start with the first two, and then we'll get into Spider-Man because that one's gonna go down three movies. So we'll save that for that whole
Yeah, we're gonna
collection.
go down a rabbit hole with that one.
But the next one I have is Shang-Chi. I think it's a really good movie. I've always liked that character. Very good combat, and I love combat movies. Like I've always said, like The Winter Soldier and Civil War. Those movies are so awesome because it's a grounded version of a superhero. But
Mm-hmm.
Shang-Chi, I mean, you have the Ten Rings, and I like how they waited until the end to show us what he could do with them
Yeah,
because
they
it
made you
really showed
wait.
that development.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that movie. Graphics are a lot better than Black Widow. The beginning was a little bit slow to start, and we eventually got there. But once he knew like what we were fighting for, like he was fighting his dad and everything like that, that the end of it was really good. I'm excited. I'm really interested what the second one's gonna be about, and just to learn even more about the character.
Yeah.
Just because obviously who they got to play him, he's very good as the character. He fits it very well. He's not old or anything, so definitely has a lot of time on his belt
Definitely got yeah.
to develop it. I'm sure he'll be in the next Avengers movie, which would be awesome to see that with the Ten Rings next to like Spider Man, New Cap,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. So it's just he's got a lot to build off of, and I can't complain about that.
Well, and I've watched it a couple times. I'm not a big fan of it only because I wasn't into Shang-Chi when I was reading comics, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's one of those characters. I'm aware of him, just not one of mine that I go to.
Mm-hmm.
But I will agree, better than Black Widow. The visuals alone, the story that it tells, very good origin story that we get out of it.
Exactly, it's a very good origin.
I kind of, some people may get this this comparison or not. I kind of look at it almost like Doctor Strange's first one.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not familiar with the character, it can be slow and confusing at first.
You really don't know what's going on.
But if you just open up your eyes, just watch it for a minute and kind of get sucked into it, and you're gonna go for a ride. And like you said, you don't really get it thrown right at you at the beginning. You got to wait for it, and it builds up, and you finally get the payoff at the end of the movie, which is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly, it's the climax in the end right there,
Yeah.
and we get to see him fight at the end, everything like that, and it's a full circle, which is what you want. Sometimes movies can't
Yeah.
deliver, like Black Widow. The full circle made no sense, but in this one, at the beginning, we find out that his father forced him to be basically a young assassin, ninja, whatever you want to call him, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't want that. You could see it like when he's punching the post and everything like that. And his hands are bleeding and everything. It's like obviously no kid wants to do that, but it's like it
You
helped him
wouldn't
in the
think.
you help him in the it helped him in the future, but he didn't want that, and it paid off for him. But it has that full circle moment where it all comes around, where he fights his dad at the end
Mm-hmm.
and everything like that to obviously revenge for his mother and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a very well rounded story. It's a very good origin story to. It focuses on him the whole time,
Yeah.
which is the point. It's
That's the
his
point.
movie.
Yeah.
Like Black Widow goes back and forth a lot. I don't know,
It does.
but Shang Chi's good. I haven't watched it in a while, so probably one of my next days off I'll probably rewatch it just to refresh in my
I'm
mind.
sure you will. I'm sure
But
you will.
that one's very good. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see the next movies because of the combat they can do, like the amount of like stunt and visual effects they can do nowadays. It's like especially with his character, I'm glad they waited till now
Yes.
because if they did it back in like 2015, it's like well then it just wouldn't have looked as good as it has and can look
Yeah.
in the
No.
future.
Totally agree with that.
But
Did a good job waiting on that one.
if you ever watched that one in a while, I would definitely suggest y'all rewatch that one. That was just fun. They have a few comedy moments in it. This is where a lot of people say they were trying to force comedy down our throat. Was this phase? And
Yeah, I could see that.
they were a little guilty of it.
Well,
In a few moments, like this one, I feel there's a few moments with the forget her name, but she was like the co-star in the movie. It's like
Yeah.
it's like from some of her jokes, it was just like, was that necessary? Can we just have?
Aquafina,
Yeah, I think so.
right?
I forget her name. I forget.
Oh,
I forget names. I'm terrible with names. I'm good with
yeah.
faces. I remember faces so well, but I'm terrible with names. But there was a few moments in that where it's like you were trying to be too funny. It's like just let us have our action movie.
Well,
Every now and then it's okay, but it's
Phase 3 was pretty dark. It was
it
pretty
was
heavy, man.
it was pretty. It
And
was
so they were trying to kind of
lighten the mood
yeah.
after seeing Tony Stark and
So-
Captain America die.
Yeah, let's have a few laughs now that we don't have half our Avengers anymore.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Thanos.
I know it took away a bunch of people.
You jerk.
But that one's really good. A lot of good takeaways from that. Obviously, people will still criticize every movie that comes out. They can't just enjoy a movie. I don't get it why we can't just enjoy movies. If it's terrible, like Captain Marvel and the Marvels, that's like there's a difference between terrible. There's a difference from watching a movie so good, and then you're trying to pick at it. It's like if it's good, don't pick at it.
Yeah, just
That's
leave it
where
alone.
a lot of people are guilty. And it's like I stopped watching movie reviews a lot because it's like you're watching a movie. This is totally random, but I also heard Craven the Hunter was terrible. It's got like 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Jeez.
So we might not go watch that one. I heard it was terrible, but it's the end of the Sonyverse. So,
killing me.
but apparently it was just terrible.
I was having hope on that at least,
I'll watch it when it comes to whatever platform it goes on, whether it's Netflix, whatever gets put on. I'll watch it when it's easy to watch at home, so I don't gotta drive and waste gas.
We had high hopes.
We do that all the time with Sony. We give them a chance.
Let down again.
But
you ready to get let down again? Read the next one.
Yeah, the next one is Eternals. He's not very fond of that movie.
No.
I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's it's one of those filler movies that we have to have because they're very crucial. It's very crucial we got the Sentinels in it. And everything like that. It explains a lot more that we haven't got to go in depth. So it had a purpose, a very good purpose. We didn't need Angelina Jolie in there.
No, we did not. No.
I don't know why she was put in there.
I have no idea. Probably just because Brad Pitt had to be the Vanisher, so she's like, "Oh yeah,
let me go.
I'm gonna be an Eternal." What do you think about that, Brad?
I like a lot of the scenes in it. Like whenever they use their superpowers, I really like that. Like the speedster when they're fighting on like the beach area. Whenever she's running around, that part's cool. I will say that.
Yeah. Because it's a superhero movie.
So it's cool to see.
You want to see superpowers?
Yeah, we don't get to see as much as I would hope.
Not a bunch of yapping.
But that one, it kind of just like it gave us a depth of like a lot of history, like where it's like what were the superheroes at that time, and it gave us a lot of that backstory. But
well, they tried to do that in X-Men Apocalypse, and we saw how that worked out. So,
we saw how
some origins I just feel you don't need.
It's a
We're
stretch.
Have a Dormammu origin story now.
We might get a show eventually. Who knows with Disney?
There's no telling. I don't know. I didn't get it. I felt like it was almost in the same vein as Black Widow, where the studio was like, we need to release something.
And Kevin Feige's like, well, we don't have to. And that shows where we talk a lot about it, especially in the director episode, where a director or producer, they know what they're doing, but the studio is like, well, we own you. Fill in this time period. It's like, well, maybe this is where we're getting Phase 5, where Marvel's like, stop. Let us write the movie. Give us a year or two to write the script and develop a story. Then we'll release it. You have to let us make a story, not just, well, it's a superhero, just put them on the screen.
Yeah.
Although it's cool, don't get me wrong. I love to see superheroes on the screen. It's the best thing ever. But can we get a story with it?
Yeah.
And this one, it's just they grabbed them. They're like, we'll throw you there. And it's like, where were they during Endgame? Oh, well, they didn't know about it until after the fact. It's like,
well, why?
It's like, well, you could have like given us like you can't tell us they were around before, but they can't intervene. It's like you're just making it confusing at a certain point. This is where I really got confused with the MCU, and I really had to like dive in deep.
We were having a battle at that time. I remember. We were getting frustrated, and all we kept praying for are the movies we're going to talk about here in a minute.
They fixed it.
But yeah, man, That was a black spot on the MCU there for a hot minute,
I agree.
and
I agree with
the
that
you
though.
can tell it was one of those they thought it was going to be this grand epic, Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings meets Marvel,
And it was just,
and it literally just turned into Spaceballs meets Dune meets
it's like
Power
this
Rangers.
because
Like it
they all
just I
have the
didn't get
abilities,
it.
but their abilities are all like the same color. And I get it's because they're like designed and everything like that.
Yeah, it just came off Power Rangery to me.
But what I also don't get is I'm blanking on what it's called, but the thing that's in the water, like we don't see a mention of that until
Galactus?
no
No,
Galactus.
he's got
We'll see
the
him in Fantastic
yeah,
Four.
that's right.
Um,
Blanking on his name too right now.
but it's not the Sentinels. I said that earlier. That's the X-Men. See, they just Eternals just confuses me. But the thing that's in the water, we don't see a mention
Celestials.
Celestials.
There
We don't
you
see
go.
a mention of that until which show is it? It's one of the shows. They mention it in like a newspaper for like a brief millisecond.
Hmm.
It's like, are we not gonna talk about um what that is at all? Like they made such a big deal about it. It's in the ocean. It's a very big thing.
Yeah, with its arm all out, right?
And like
Just
the only thing we might get from it is like Wolverine. They might say that's the metal they're gonna put in them, and it's like,
yeah,
well, then that just makes it confusing in a certain aspect of like Striker and everything like that. It's
yeah.
just it seemed like they had an idea, but they forced it at the wrong time.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Black Widow.
Yep.
It's just it wasn't the right time. They forced a movie on us. A lot of fans didn't like it. A lot of fans still don't like it. They canceled Eternals 2. For some reason, Harry Styles is Thanos' brother. I don't get that at all. It's just like,
What?
yeah, remember at the end when he's at the end credit scene?
Oh yeah. Oh man, it was so bad I forgot about it. I'm being
It's so
dead
bad they
serious.
haven't mentioned it since.
Being
So if
dead
that means
serious.
anything, we haven't talked
Man,
about it since it has happened.
I
Seth,
watched it once,
yeah, I've seen it.
so I
I
mean
think I've watched it two or three
totally forgot
times.
about the end credit scene on that one.
I just they left
They,
it on such a big like note, but it was so bad they can't do anything with it. It's just they
no,
didn't deliver, and
can't polish a turd sometimes. You know what I mean?
they tried teasing the second one. I don't think it's been confirmed. I don't think it ever will because it just got nowhere to
Tease
go.
the second one. You want to throw up again? Like, no, I don't. Thank you. I
It's like,
don't.
no, we
I
don't want you to
don't.
waste $300 million again for
Thank you.
nothing.
Just please stop helping.
But I could have lived without the Eternals, honestly,
A lot of
until
us could
further,
have.
like, it would have been perfect for, like, the next, like, this current phase, because we're going a lot into, like, new ideas. Like, it would have made sense
Yes.
now, because, like, okay, they
Yes.
saw what happened, so now they have to come down to Earth,
Right.
and they have to help us from these, because they realize, okay, why does everybody want to attack just Earth? Let us help them. It would have made sense. Maybe you could have tied it in with Guardians somehow, or they could have tied it in with Fantastic Four in a way. There was
Mm-hmm.
such easier ways, but they forced it. Didn't make sense to me. I just it was
It,
I
it
think it was Disney forcing them to make a movie. That's what it is,
it was
without a
because
doubt.
it could have tied in even after probably the probably third movie we're going to talk about. It probably could have tied in even more with like after Doctor Strange too.
Possibly,
Like
yeah.
they did it for no reason. It was bad lineup. Like
The only good thing that came really from it was the post credit where we hear Blade talk,
yeah,
but that's been canceled.
because he's retired.
He's retired.
Yeah,
But
Wesley
so
Snipes was right. Holy smokes, who'd have thought that?
there's only been one Blade. It's like, well, way to
Only ever
go,
be,
Deadpool. Way to
only ever
jinx
be
it.
one blade.
So the good thing we got from it has been utterly canceled until I guess further notice. But Eternals is just it's a filler movie that I'll only watch if I rewatch the entire timeline.
I'm interested to see if there's any fans out there that are fans of that movie, and I want to hear your defense for it, not just for arguing, but I want to explain to me. Maybe
Maybe we're
I'll see
missing
it in a
something.
different light. I just felt like I said, it just like, oh man, I
If you
could
can
have done with
explain
that.
it to us to where we'll understand why it was made in that time, then maybe I'll rewatch it with more. I've already watched it with open eyes, trying to understand like why it was made. But if you can give me another reason to watch it, then kudos to you, I guess.
I'd rather watch Howard the Duck.
Well, that one's funny.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
There you go. A little homework mission. Go watch Howard the Duck.
Yeah, they need to remake that one. Bring him back into the fold.
But these next three movies, I actually like the rest of them. So we'll actually enjoy the rest of this episode.
Yeah, the rest of it's great. There was that one little bad hump right there.
Like we got Shang-Chi in there, and then they're like, we'll put a terrible one before that, and then terrible one after that, and then we'll get to the good stuff.
It was hard for him, man. He got lumped in between some crap there.
I was like, dang, dude. It's like you can't get no love between those.
Poor Shang-Chi.
But the next one is directly after Endgame, and it's gonna be Spider-Man: Far From Home. I've mentioned it a billion times already, but I love Spider-Man with all my heart. I enjoy all three of them that Tom Holland's in.
Oh yeah.
That whole trilogy, I love it. Anytime I watch it,
I'm ready for 4.
I'm so happy for the fourth one when
It's
it comes
gonna
out.
be good.
But Far From Home, we had a great villain. I love Jake Gyllenhaal. He has so many good movies. He did great as Mysterio.
Yeah.
I think they could even. There's possibility they could bring him back. Who knows the way they left that off. The whole movie is such a great way of he lost his mentor, because obviously we know Uncle Ben. Everybody knows the story of that, so he's already suffered that. So we know in the first one, he's discovering his powers. His first time really fighting something. In the second one, it's like, okay, well, your mentor, your second dad, you saw him die in front of you, saving the universe. Now you're dealing with that, and he feels that guilt of, do I live up to him, or do I try to be on the same level? Like, what do I do? I don't know really what to do. And then obviously he's taken advantage of, which is the sad reality of a lot of real life stories. They just made it into superhero version.
Yeah.
And he's struggling with his love life. He's still trying to keep his identity secret. Obviously, Aunt May knows after the first one. Ned is obviously
the man in the chair.
Yes, so Ned's in his love story in that movie. That's so.
Oh man,
that movie's funny. But you have to understand, Spider-Man is a comedy-driven character, so it makes sense why there's comedy in it. So I will never defend it. Like, I don't go with people who don't like comedy in Spider-Man movies. It's the whole point. That's how he distracts you in fights, like we see in Civil War. Because we mentioned we're probably gonna watch it after the last episode, and we watched it.
Literally did.
And I just crack up every time he fights Winter Soldier in that scene. And Falcon's like, there's not this much talking in a fight. He's like, well, I know, but it's still fun.
Are those wings carbon fiber?
But just Far From Home.
Whoa.
The way it opens up, or no, that's No Way Home. Getting mixed up. Far From Home. I love the whole idea of he loses his Peter Tingle.
Yeah.
His spider sense. He loses his Peter Tingle, and it really challenges him because he's like, it's basically like a callback to Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Where it's like he can't shoot his webs. It's because it's that mental block.
Yep.
It's where you get so in your head that you stop yourself, and we do that in real life. You stop yourself from doing things because you're so in your own head. And he's challenged by that. Mysterio, I love the way they did him, where I actually thought, like, we thought the whole movie that it was like actually Mysterio and everything like that. So it's possible we might either get him back or even like the actual true version. Mysterio is such a great character too. The amount of mind games he does.
There's a lot of possibilities with him,
and it explores that.
Him being part of the Sinister Six would be a phenomenal addition. And they can still bring Jake back for it. He's still young enough he can play the character again.
And he won't say no.
But one of my favorite MCU scenes ever, and you talk about the comedy, but Tom Holland can make you cry too as a grown man.
He got it. He got you in there.
That scene where Happy comes and picks him up out in the middle of nowhere in the jet.
That field flower.
And he stops him and he makes him tell him something personal so that he knows it's not, the droid's messing with his brain and the clone, whatever.
Going through it.
And tells him something, and then they get on the plane and he tells him, well, you make the suit, I'll worry about flying.
Yeah.
And he looks back and it looks just like Tony Stark all over again. He's back there playing with his toys, building a suit. It was just a really cool callback, again, playing AC/DC. Then he goes, I love Led Zeppelin. It's like perfect Spider-Man Tom Holland line.
I love
that was awesome.
All the knots, the different suits when he scrolls through it. It's like, because obviously we're never going to get all the Spider-Man suits in real life. But you saw like the original Iron Spider in there. There's a lot that he like scrolls through, and then he makes it. And I really like the suit he made, the black and red.
Yeah.
I really like it. I love the little like triangle on his wrist for the web because it's very sleek.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
what you would that's what you would realistically want if you were Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then that whole final fight scene is awesome when he finally trusts himself completely and he just closes his eyes. He's like, okay, it's my tingle, so why can't I activate it? And that's where you
Yeah.
kind of see that process. And that whole fight scene is awesome where he's just like jumping off the walls. It's like that's a Spider-Man. That's a Spider-Man fight.
Yeah.
It's like it's off of his abilities and everything like that. And then I just love to see the buildup of Mysterio just in his head the entire movie.
Yeah.
Just every scene that Spider-Man's in, you see how much Quebec is just in his head. He has his trust and everything like that. And it's awesome. The whole movie, Nick Fury's funny in that one where he's basically, like, he's telling him, like, you can't trust anybody. And
Yeah.
then Quebec uses Nick Fury to make him not trust Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Which is smart. That's what a villain would do, is take the most trustworthy person and make him not trustworthy.
Absolutely. It
And
gives him Stark tech and everything.
exactly. And it's just, he gives him Edith, so that's why he has the robots and everything like that. And then, I don't know why people don't like the stealth suit. I always like it, because it makes sense.
Oh, Night Monkey suit's pretty sweet.
I like that one.
We're
I
gonna
don't get
call
why
him
people
what he
don't like.
is. He's the Night Monkey.
He is the Night Monkey. I don't get why people don't like that. It makes sense. It's a stealth suit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you don't want to be seen, so why would I be wearing bright colors like I do in the daytime when I want people to see me as Spider-Man?
Yeah. I'm literally trying
I
to
don't
not
get
be
why
seen.
Don't get why people don't like that, but
Well, it's because it's called rationality, and some people don't have it.
point proven. When you have a good movie, people still like to try to pick at it.
No, I'm telling you,
So I just
it'll never end.
nope, it won't. But the ending is very good. You
Oh,
see him.
The ending is great.
Obviously, you have the peak of his love with MJ, because obviously that's what drives him a lot of the time, is his love for her or other people in his life. He's helping the people in his school on his little trip and everything like that. Obviously, when he beats Mysterio, that's when we get the recording that leads directly into No Way Home.
Yeah.
Literally, scene for scene is the exact same
I
scene that
love
ends and
that.
starts
I
it.
love how they did that.
It's like, it makes sense.
It was perfect. Like, that was the perfect ending, because I like how he starts to say it, and when you went to go see it in the theaters, like, it was beautiful because the screen just went black, and you're like, they're gonna leave us hanging to a third one, and then he, boom, pops back up, and then he, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and the whole audience is just like, oh!
And then you have that iconic and you see his
Yeah.
eyes just go wide. He's like, what?
Like,
Man.
man, they nailed it on the head, dude. They redeemed themselves with the first part of Phase 4.
They definitely did. And then just the end, like, they carried it out into the next movie. And the next movie is just, I mean, nobody doesn't like No Way Home. If you don't like that movie, you're just crazy. I don't know what to tell you.
We can't be friends if you don't like No Way Home. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's such a phenomenal movie. I mean, it starts out chaotic, is the way it ended in the second one. You get, the person throws slime on him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what?
What?
And then he has to wash it and everything like that. And then he needs help because he doesn't know where to go for help. It really shows how much people trust what they see online rather than what's actually going on.
Oh,
it really
yeah.
goes down that path of, like, yeah, you'll believe what somebody says just because it looked like it was real.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it really showed that side of, he lost every scholarship. Like, they had that whole section of Spider-Man in the school, and they took that down.
Took that down.
Nobody liked him. No colleges wanted to talk to him.
No.
Even after he's helped that lady on the bridge, which she kind of was like, okay, I'll see what I can do. But it's like, I just showed you I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And you can't be like, okay, I'll make sure. It's like, I'll talk to him missions. Like, that's, and it's like, even after that, we see at the end, it's like he doesn't go to college.
Still doesn't go to college.
But that's because of the spell.
Yeah.
But we see him go to Doctor Strange, and he asks for help. And then, of course, the old-fashioned Peter Parker, as soon as he starts doing the spell, he's like, well, can we add this, this, and this, and this? And it's like, well, you could have said that before,
Yeah.
and I would have helped. But after the whole spell, I mean, we see the bridge scene where we get Dr. Octopus on there.
Yep.
That scene, it was just, I remember seeing that. We watched it opening day in the theaters. I mean, it was awesome to see that, and then you just hear Willem Dafoe laugh and throw a grenade.
Yeah.
And
That whole movie was just nonstop insanity.
I just love that movie so much. I'll watch it any chance I get. It's just so amazing. And then you see really the build of the three of them, Ned, MJ, and Peter Parker. Really, it's almost like a Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah,
and Doctor Strange makes fun of that.
Why don't you go Scooby-Doo that for me?
And so it's awesome to see Doctor Strange again in a movie because we haven't seen him since Endgame, and he plays a crucial role in this. Like we mentioned, um, in the previous episodes, whenever he has the box and he hits him, and he
Yeah,
comes out into his astral form. You see the spider sense, and it was
you
like
do
that's
see it.
perfect because that's a
Yep.
comic book right there. And you see that and he floats around and he starts swimming back to
Yeah.
it, and he comes back, and then you have the whole fight scene where they're in like um they're in the fourth dimension or the mirror dimension, and Spider-Man's like, wait, I'm really good at math. All this is geometry.
Yeah.
And then you see him outsmart Doctor Strange, and then he traps him in there because that's just what he
That's
does.
just what he would do.
He just outsmarts him, and then we see the carry out. We see that even though all these people wanted to kill Spider-Man, he still wanted to help him.
Yeah.
And at first, he really didn't want to, but he realized like my feelings need to be set aside for the better. For great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And then eventually, we see Ned and MJ. The portal opens, and we see Andrew first because it opens. He's in the alleyway. And he just turns around, and then he kind of jumps in, and it was just awesome to see him because we last time we saw him was when he wasn't done justice
No.
in the previous movie,
They redeemed our friend Andrew Garfield.
and he takes
with
that
one.
mask off. He's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And we're like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Spider Man, Peter Parker."
Yeah.
We're like, "No, you're not." He's like, "Yeah, yeah."
I am.
And then we
Wouldn't
see
make
that
up.
third portal. We see the second one open. We see Toby walk in. They're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Peter Parker." And like, "Are you not Spider-Man?" He's like, "Well, usually I don't go around showboating that."
Yeah.
And you see him just do that iconic, like, pull it down. You see it under
You
his
see
shirt, like how it was in all of
suit.
his movies. It was just awesome to see that. And they had a quick little moment where he shot him with the webs. And you see Andrew, like, he doesn't say anything, but he has that look on his face, like, okay. Because he shot it, and he was trying to look for a web shooter. He's like, I didn't see one on you. So he was trying to piece it together. He was like, okay.
Just shows you how smart every Peter Parker is.
They're putting
they're
everything
all
together
smart.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And then we see those two. And then obviously before they all three reunite, that's when Spider-Man, Tom Holland, is trying to help them all, put them back to their normal self so he can send them back to the universe so they can live again because they all died right before they got put here, which makes sense.
It does.
Unintentionally. It's like, did they unintentionally do that 20 years ago? Which is kind of crazy how they unintentionally
I
did
think
that.
that's just how smart Kevin Feige is.
Because when I rewatched Spider-Man 1, when you see Willem Dafoe die in it, like right before he gets hit, you see that realization. It's almost like, okay, you just came back,
Yeah.
but he still dies.
Well, that's
But
true.
it was like unintentional, but it's like that's where you see how smart he's like, okay, let me take an idea of them all dying, but reuse them to where it makes sense in this universe.
Yeah.
And it was just really cool how we got to see that. But whenever he's trying to help them all, and he's like helping them, like he helps Electro, which I'm glad they made him the right color. They made him yellow, and you see that mask on him eventually.
They did really good with that.
It was like, thank you for fixing that because they did so terrible in that. And when they
Because,
last did him,
it would look horrible for him to walk around wearing that mask the entire time, but what they did every time he'd use his
you
powers,
see that light up.
that was so cool. That was so cool. Jamie Foxx did great with that, too.
He did good as a character, it's just that they didn't write it well. It's just
No.
like, well, you can't do much when they write it terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I just love that. And then you have the whole fight scene between him and Green Goblin. You see Green Goblin powerbomb him through a floor. And that whole fight scene is awesome. You really get to see close-up web fighting. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It shows you how smart Green Goblin is when he's manipulated him so much. And then you hear him say, Norman's on sabbatical.
Yeah.
That's when he turns and everything like that.
Norman's on sabbatical. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then we get to see a few different suits in this one. We have the one obviously at the beginning, which is black and red.
Mm-hmm.
Then he has to turn it inside out because of the goo on it, and that's when we get Sandman. I thought it was crazy how they still did Sandman when he couldn't even be there.
Yeah, but that's where that's like
His
probably the
character.
only thing people complained about that movie was if you couldn't have used him properly,
Why?
just leave him out.
But it was one of those ones where it's like, because I think they still got him to voice act, like in the beginning whenever he's just the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously at the end, whenever we see him turn back to human, that's the clip from the first, or from the
Right.
third Spider-Man. They just reversed it basically.
Yeah.
But they were smart. Same thing with the lizard. They were smart in the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
It made sense. But But they just did so well in that movie. All the
Oh
fight
yeah,
scenes were amazing. We got the integrated suit, is I think what they call it, where it's the black and red and the gold, where they all three mesh together.
yeah.
I really like that suit. That suit just looks awesome.
It's pretty, man. It's sharp.
And then I love the scene when they all three finally meet. But before that, obviously, we get the devastating death of Aunt May, where we get with great power comes great responsibility.
Man.
And then, I mean, man, that one, that in the movie is just so sad, and it just shows you how strong Spider-Man really is.
Yeah.
Because you see all three of them talking, and they're all like, obviously, they've all been through the same thing. And Tom Holland's like, you don't know what I'm going through. And that's when you see the other two go, we know exactly what you're going through. That's why we're here, is to help you.
Yeah.
And then you have all of them going through like their heartfelt story, and that really brings you to tears when you see Andrew Garfield going, "Yeah, I lost my Gwen.
Yeah. She was
Like I
my
lost my
MJ.
MJ, and I stopped pulling my punches." And we all wondered what happened afterwards.
Yeah.
And the explanation is, I stopped pulling my punches. I became what I said I wouldn't. And then Tobey Maguire, he kind of explains when they're in the lab like what he's been doing. It's like, I tried to start a family. It's kind of working.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult, but I just kind of like how we got like they explain the end of their stories, kind of like where it went from there.
Yeah.
But
Well, because they deserve it, much like we get in Deadpool. We'll talk about that next episode. You know, some characters didn't get the right send off or never got one in general, and that's not always the actor's fault, because you know the writing is involved, the directing's involved, and if they just don't do a good job, it sucks, because both Toby and Andrew did a great job with Spider-Man, and I think they finally did, if they both choose to. They got their send off, and they got a damn good one. I mean,
I think so.
it was a phenomenal movie.
To see, I still want to get those Funko Pops where they all like are on the Statue of Liberty,
Yeah.
where they all land. It's just,
Man,
to see that in theaters.
To hear live audiences reacting to movies in modern era
It's
is
insane.
amazing.
It shows you how touching that character really is to some people.
Yeah.
And then just to see all three of them land on that, like one by one.
Oh, man.
And then just to see all the villains slowly come up, it's just like, oh my god, this is a comic book movie.
It was
This
awesome.
is what we want.
Because that was like a perfect still frame right out of the book, right out of the pages.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully done.
That whole fight scene is just...
And, you know, with today's age and technology, it's hard not to hear spoilers. It's hard not to
Unfortunately, we
catch things.
We knew about them showing up.
But even with all the spoilers, even with everybody, you know, pretty much knowing what was going to happen,
it was still awesome.
You still got blown away, and you still got more than what I think you were bargaining for. And I think they still did a phenomenal job. And maybe that's why they let some stuff leak out, because they're like, you don't even know what's going to happen. So
they want to bring you into the movie.
Yeah.
So it's just Andrew Garfield was also good at being like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, he is.
He was good at that. Now nobody trusts him when he talks about anything. It's like, way to go, dude.
Yeah.
Now nobody wants to trust him.
And nobody talks to Tobey Maguire, so he was just kind of.
Yeah, he doesn't talk to anybody.
No.
He hates the paparazzi. Everybody says he's got real spider sense. Every time someone records him, he just turn and look at the camera. It's like, oh,
looking at me.
Oops. Like the one where he's at the concert and he just goes, he's like, oh god, oh god.
Like, stop looking at me.
And it's like, leave the guy alone.
Do not take my picture.
It's been 24 years. Leave him alone.
Settle down, bro.
But the whole end fight scene is amazing. We see Doctor Strange finally come back, and he realizes how good like Spider-Man truly is. Meet Peter, and Peter's like
whoa,
three Peters.
whoa, yeah.
It's like, that's too much for me. And then we see where like Dr. Octopus is finally like back to his normal mind state, and he sees Tobey Maguire, and that was just awesome.
Yeah.
The callback of whenever he has an arc reactor, and he's like, and Spider-Man has it, and he's like, it's like the power of the sun in your hand, in the palm of your hand. And that's where you kind of see the full circle. Toby's like, you weren't a bad guy. You just, something bad happened to you.
Yeah. Just, you need to be better than what you were the day before.
Exactly. And it's cool to see all of them finally come to that, like, good person again. It's just they all went through such traumatic things.
Yeah.
It's like their minds were so messed up. They went through these dark times. But Spider-Man is so well at bringing you back to that happy place, that good person that you truly are. And then obviously we have all of them go back to being good again. They're all going back to the universe one by one. Or that's after he does the portal. They're all sitting there kind of like, they're taking a breather because they're pretty tired after fighting like that.
Well,
I would be.
Yeah.
And then you see we have Tom Holland and Willem Dafoe have their fight.
That was epic.
And then we see Tobey Maguire almost die. Andrew helps him. Tobey Maguire saves Tom Holland, and then it's the whole fight scene. He's about to kill Green Goblin, but he obviously doesn't because it's wrong. And he
It's
almost
not
lets
the
his
way.
emotions get the best of him.
Yeah, it does.
But
Well,
Woman
can you
Dafoe,
blame him?
no. I like the outfit they gave him too. It was very like run down version of himself.
Yes, I think it was, to me, more comic accurate than what he had, from the
We didn't have the
previous
mask the
films.
whole movie.
Yeah.
He broke that. He got rid of that. He said,
That
"Yeah, we're done with that."
he has such a not beautiful face as it is. You don't really need a mask. He already looks like a goblin. I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean Willem Dafoe, you look like a goblin.
He just fits the role.
When you can do the Joker smile without prosthetics, it's like, holy Lord.
People still want him to play a Joker. I wouldn't mind it.
I'd love to see it.
As a Joker fan, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
then you have that fight scene, and then you have him. You see literally the multiverse cracking, and you just like you see basically all the different
yeah.
villains just waiting to come out. And it's like I thought like someone else like it's gonna go down. Multiverse is gonna shatter. Doctor Strange starts fixing it, and you see that heartbroken moment. It's like the only way I can fix it is if it's the original spell. And you see just Tom Holland go, "You can do it." He's like,
Yeah.
"You sure?" And he's like, "If it has to be done," he's like, "Well, go say your goodbyes." And even Doctor Strange is choking up, and
Yeah.
it's like, and then the whole time he kept telling him to call him Doctor.
Or call him Steve.
He's like, and then he's like, "Yeah, just go do it." Name's Steven. And
Don't
then
call me that.
it's just sad to see everybody's forgetting who he is. And then he says his final goodbyes. And then he's like, "I'll come find you and I'll make sure you remember," and everything like that. And then the spell happens, and then you see all of them going back and everything like that.
Like a reverse dusting from Endgame. They all
Yeah.
turn into like gold glitter this time.
Yeah.
So
It's the happy version.
it was the happy dusting.
Yeah. And then they all go back. We see the multiverse is okay and everything like that. And then we get obviously the very end when we see Tom Holland. He visits. He goes to the cafe first and then the grave, I believe. I always get those scenes mixed up. He goes to the cafe
Cafe first.
because he's gonna talk to Ned and MJ.
Mm-hmm.
He has a like when you see that he has a whole letter that he wrote out, but then he realizes he sees that she had the band-aid on, and that's where the hero comes out and the good person. It's like I put you in that position because
Yep.
you knew me, because you loved me, and that's where you have the heartfelt moment of Peter Parker is always thinking of others first,
Yeah.
and you see him go, "I don't want to do that again."
Nope.
And that's where it shows how much he truly loves her. He's
Gotta
like,
let
"I'd
her go
rather be
sometimes.
alone than put you in death again."
Well, that's the thing. You don't want to hurt the ones you love because you're trying to save the world, and yeah, it's a harsh reality for superheroes. But
Exactly.
if you love her, you gotta let her go sometimes.
Exactly. And then we have that whole scene in the coffee shop where he's like, "I'll just take a coffee." And then he leaves, and then we see him by himself, like kind of like Toby in number 3, where he's living by himself. And then we get obviously the iconic swing with the Christmas tree that takes place right over where Hawkeye has that fight at the last episode.
Yes,
But that suit is just so beautiful, and I can't wait till we get in the movie.
man.
I'm ready for the fourth one. I can't wait anymore. And then our post credit scene is obviously the teaser trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
I like the movie. I don't mind it. A lot of fans don't care for it. It's a Doctor Strange movie. It's gonna be bizarre because that's what his character is.
Yeah, I loved it.
I'll let you talk on this one.
I loved Doctor Strange too, Multiverse of Madness. The fact that it was borderline horror mixed with action and sci-fi, like it hit all different parts of the spectrum. It can easily make you want to get into a character you typically may not want to get into because now you're really jumping into fantasy because now the multiverse is involved. It's not just a mutant or an enhanced person as they've been using in the MCU, over the years because they couldn't say mutant.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's now multiple versions of everybody thrown at you.
Oh yeah.
Like it's endless possibilities. And of course, what's that going to do? That's going to bring on all the rumors. Oh, so now we can have this person come and play that character, this person play that character. But I love the way it started because you know that's not our Doctor Strange when you're watching it. He looks completely different. So you're like, what the heck are we watching?
I mean, it
Is
puts
this
you
in
right
the
into it.
future? Is this, what is going on here? And then, he wakes up and you're like, oh, so he's having a dream.
And
Okay,
it
so
shows
he's
you how
seeing
messed up the
things.
multiverse still is.
Yeah,
Poor Doctor Strange, he's going through with the multiverse.
I'm telling you. But, strong mind can take, those kind of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But I love what they did with Scarlet Witch in this.
We finally got to see Scarlet Witch instead of Wanda.
I mean,
I mean, the destruction she caused from the WandaVision, which we'll talk about in the next episode.
mm-hmm.
And then just also the Multiverse of Madness, an abbreviation is MOM, which I
Yeah,
always thought was awesome because it's about her and trying to be a mom.
yeah.
They give us America Chavez, which is a character we've never seen on screen or in a show ever.
Nope.
And they finally put that character in the movie and everything. They really explored the multiverse in a way I didn't think they would in that movie. It really shows that what Doctor Strange is willing to do to save those and everything like that. Although many people may not know of him as being heroic, he's still doing
Right.
heroic things because he knows it's for the right and the better thing. But I just love the way they go over the multiverse to try to escape. They're trying to outsmart her, but she's just so powerful in this movie because she's very in agony and pain that she's using
Yeah.
as much as her power.
Suffering.
She gets a hold of the dark hold, which just makes her even stronger, and we see that effect on her body and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then we obviously, like we mentioned in the last episode, we get Doctor Strange and the Illuminati. We get
Yeah.
a lot of calls to
Mm.
different timelines. We get John Krasinski as Mr. Reed,
So pissed
or
about
Doctor,
that too, though.
turn him into spaghetti.
How are you gonna do that to us?
And then we
How
get
are you
Black.
gonna give him to us and then take him away 10 minutes later?
Exactly. It's like, well, there is a
Man,
rumor that we're going to get the Council of the Reeds in Fantastic Four. It's been partially confirmed.
I hope
So
so.
maybe we'll get a redemption for him.
But I thought, and then getting, Captain Britain,
That was cool. And then we got
and
different Captain Marvel. We got Professor X, and then we got Black Bolt.
then
Shh.
Black Bolt Boltagon. How the guy hit it there?
Hey,
That.
Illuminati, didn't y'all chart in the 60s? Or no, he's talking about Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Like, didn't y'all chart in the 60s? It's like you just had to make a reference to music, which is awesome because in the first one, he listens to a bunch of music when he's doing surgery.
Yep.
So it just shows you how smart the director, Sam Raimi, was for that one.
We'll get a sweet looking zombie version of Doctor Strange in it.
Yes, we do.
And just so much fun to watch. I don't understand why it did not get the right respect.
It's a fun movie. It's a Doctor Strange movie, like I was saying. There's so much in his character. I also love when they show the possibility if he gets the Darkhold, what Doctor Strange becomes.
Yeah.
And we see like he killed he killed Thanos, and you see Illuminati. They tell him like we have to kill you, and you see him just sitting there like I know. You see Black Bolt just he talks to him, and he's gone. And that shows how strong Black Bolt is too as well.
Because he barely whispered, "I'm sorry."
I'm sorry.
And then that's all it took. But the visuals in those Doctor Strange movies, to me, that's what they're all about. And prime example when they're rushed through the multiverse because America, her powers freak out on them.
And
They're blasting through all the different multiverses, and you see the visuals of what you would be in every multiverse.
You see like the water one. I love the cartoon one when they're floating in the
Cartoon.
cartoon. It was just so like that was such a visual pleasing scene.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have when Wanda comes out of the other universe right before it's after she's already Scarlet Witch, and she was already trying to be in a different universe with her kids with the Illuminati. She's fighting them and everything like that. And we see her fighting all of the Illuminati. She kills Mr. Fantastic, turns him into spaghetti, and then Black Bolt.
Heartbreaking.
Black Bolt.
That one was messed up.
Closes his mouth, and you just see his head literally like turn to mush. It's like I wasn't expecting that.
That one got the entire audience.
Like,
everybody went, "Whoa!"
It's like what? And then obviously she cut Captain Britain in half.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel,
She got crushed by one of the pillars.
Yeah, she brought her down.
Yeah.
And then she went into Professor X's head and then snapped his neck. It's
Yeah.
like, dang, dude.
Poor Charles.
It's like, man, he's already been through.
Poor old Patrick Stewart.
They killed him like 8 times. Like, how many times can you kill Patrick Stewart? It's just mean at
He
that
just
point.
keeps coming back, man. Like the
But
Energizer Bunny with that little chair.
she's fights all of them, and then Doctor Strange is the only one. And then we see him go to that other universe where it's him and Christina, and he has to learn like, how can I defeat her?
Yeah.
And then that's where like we get the, obviously a lot of people like this scene where he tells her like, she's like, I can't love you in this universe or the other one, but he's like, I love you in every universe. And it shows Doctor Strange is one of those heroes like Spider-Man, like Captain America. It's like where they love that one person, but they know for the greater good what they're doing they can't. And it's that ultimate sacrifice of my wants aren't as important as the universe's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's where there he goes and they have the final fight scene, and we see obviously the whole fight, everything like that. Wanda supposedly dies. We see the burst. They confirmed it, but there's a possibility she might come back. So I'm just waiting to see what happens.
Possibilities with that one.
She's a very powerful being.
Well, because call back to X-Men Apocalypse, and he had that one helper of his where she could put force fields up and stuff. And it's like, you know, she could have protected herself. Just because it made that flash doesn't mean that she died.
I
She
think
could
that
have
was
very
ultimate.
easily survived that one.
I think it was an ultimate shield around her.
I think it did, and I hope it did, because gosh, they were just really getting into her character.
She has so much potential, everything like that. And then obviously at the end we see his third eye open up, and that leads into the third one.
That was such creepy.
And the third one, I forget what her name is, but that's a big possible love interest and just duo right there. So we'll just kind of see anything's possible in the third one. I'm going in there, I'm just going to go in there open eyes, open arms, and kind of just see what they deliver with. And I won't complain because I like it. I don't know why people don't care for it. It was fun. It's a superhero movie. They're meant to be fun.
Yeah.
It's not one of those like where it's meant to be a serious movie. Like Endgame, it was serious for a reason, and it made sense.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah, the visual on that one alone.
But then we have the next one, which was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and we kind of mentioned this briefly in the last episode, or the one prior where we talked about Black Panther. I think they did good with what they had. Good villain, Ironheart. It brought in another character, which we'll get a show on eventually. It's interesting to see how they did that after he unfortunately passed away, and I need to rewatch it. I haven't watched it in a while, but it was very good. We got to learn more about the characters we didn't learn about a lot in the first one. We were more in depth on the sister and the mother, kind of the impact on that, and kind of the impact on the whole nation from it. And we see that, okay, so she can be the Black Panther, everything like that, because she had to take up that mantle. I was like, who else is going to do it? If I don't do it, someone worse might.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, because when you don't have someone fighting for that mantle, it's going to go to someone else. That's like, their rules there.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, you don't want it to go to the wrong tribe.
Like, you don't want another Killmonger to come in.
Exactly.
But it's really good. Namor was a great villain. I really like him in the comics. Better version of Aquaman, because he actually comes out of the water and fights you.
Yeah. Doesn't just talk to the fish.
But it was really cool to see that, because we don't get a lot of like water. We never see anything in the water for the MCU. We've never really have. So it was kind of cool to see that dynamic of Wakanda, and they're not Atlantis, are they? No. But they're basically their version of Atlantis.
He's just called the Mariner. So I mean, I don't really know, because they're almost like Incan or Mayan. They don't really look like they're.
But it's that whole underground world where we get to see that come up into full effect, and like they're fighting for the land and everything like that. So it's really cool to see that balance of that. And then obviously at the end they did leave it on an open book, that she named her son T'Challa. So there's a possibility we might get him again. I would love to see Black Panther, but at the same time I don't really want to ruin that for Chadwick Boseman, because like he was just...
I think it's just too soon, man. I know they were kind of painted in a corner with this one. They probably didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But
I know they said it was hard, and a lot of the director said it was very hard to make this movie, and I don't blame you. Like, that would be hard. You lost the most important thing, the best thing on the entire crew, you lost that person, and it's not
Yeah,
like it was a disagreement. Like, okay, well maybe you come back for the third one. It's like he's gone, unfortunately, from this world, and he's in
unfortunately.
the high heavens and everything like that. So it was just unfortunate events, and they did what they could, and they did well. I think they did.
Yeah,
They were very smart with how they did it. That they left on an open book to where like we could, but we couldn't at the same time.
yeah,
Because they didn't say like, okay, well we're gonna force his uh his son to be Black Panther. They never really said that. They're like, well his name's T'Challa after his dad, so maybe he'll want to do it, maybe he won't. So they left it
right.
on a smart open book.
But they did at least give you, as a fan, this the satisfaction. We're gonna at least acknowledge that Black Panther has passed.
Yeah,
They're not gonna just, oh well, now no, they're gonna bring in a variant
it's like
just
well,
because the multiverse happened. Now we can just bring in a
exactly.
variant. So I mean, it was good that they at least gave closure for Chadwick Boseman's version of the Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
But
Properly.
yeah, I think they need to wait a long time if you want to be respectful to the legacy that he started
Mm-hmm.
and created. I think they need to wait, and I mean, wait till after like phase 6, 7.
I would say after phase 6
You
we'll
know,
be about 2030,
because
2035.
bring them in phase 6, 7, and that way you can still call back to Black Panther Wakanda Forever
Mm-hmm.
and go, well, remember when he was, 8 years old when we said his name's T'Challa?
We gotta wait for him to grow up. So
So
we gotta
now
give him.
he's like 28, 30 years old.
Now he's a grown man. He's fulfilling his father's
Yeah,
name.
because we don't need, like, okay, it's cute and everything that you have a kid pool fighting on screen because, it's Deadpool. It's
Yeah,
going to
and
be
that's in the
funny.
comics. We see that a lot with the different
Yeah.
variants. Deadpool, and it's like, well,
But
that's
we,
just
we
fun.
don't need a tiny Black Panther running around.
No.
It looks like child labor laws are being broken. You
Yeah.
thought the Sokovia Accords were going to cause some problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, throw a tiny Black Panther out there and see what happens. Like, this is.
So I think I agree with you. We should just wait a little while,
Mm-hmm.
let him have his respect and everything like that. But
Absolutely.
they definitely did justice, and I think they were smart with how they did it. And I definitely go back and I'll watch it every now and then, whenever I get the chance and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's two more on the list. I think we should save the Guardians for Christmas talk, unless you want to talk about it.
I think we should save that one for Christmas talk
Okay,
because
we'll do that.
it's a good one. It's one of my new favorite Christmas
So we'll
classics now.
do our final one of this episode is gonna be Thor: Love and Thunder.
Y'all ready to argue?
So I'll let Dad start it off since he likes this one very much.
I think that is one of the funniest, just not even to consider it a movie, comedy movie, action movie, one of the funniest openings of a movie. But I just love how Chris Hemsworth is having fun.
Oh yeah, he's having full
That
fledged
should
fun,
make you want to watch the movie.
and the actor's enjoying it.
I mean, he's not enjoying it because he's making millions. He's enjoying it because it's fun.
Oh yeah,
And I think the soundtrack was amazing. I thought they did a great job in finishing up his story with Jane. That way, when we do get another Thor movie, if we do, we're focusing on something else now.
mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. I thought that Christian Bale did an unbelievable Gore the God
He
Butcher.
did. He did. Yes.
If you don't want to go over the top CGI and make him look like a horrible earless Jar Jar Binks, this was the best way to do it. And the way they made him change slowly throughout the movie, much like with Wanda turning into the Scarlet Witch and Doctor
We
Strange
see it.
2,
Yeah.
you see that metamorphosis throughout the movie. And so it lends to that where, oh wow, they're sick. Like there's
Yeah.
something wrong with them.
Because whenever we see him get the sword and everything like that, and it's just like, and then we see like all like the when Thor sees what's happening and everything like that, where the amount of gods he's killed and everything like
Yeah.
that. It's just like because he was basically his god threw him away
Mm-hmm.
when he was the last of his people, and his god was like, "Well, you don't matter," and it's like, "Well, okay, okay, if you say that, let's see what happens."
Yeah. I fick
And
you.
you just see, like, just like the whole growth of him becoming more evil. We
Yeah.
see Thor, basically on a self-finding journey. He gets back into shape. He's fighting with the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just awesome to see them in that too.
Oh, the Asgardians of the galaxy. I
It's
love
just
that.
the handshake, and the high Asgardian.
The
It's just
snake nobody can trust. I'm sorry, dude. Him and Chris Pratt are
they're so
awesome.
funny.
I want to see them just do like a buddy comedy together. I think that would be hilarious.
It would.
I would pay to go watch that. Uh, but yeah, the whole opening montage of Thor getting back into shape. You know, he went from a dad bod to a sad bod and back to a god bod.
It's just like,
You know,
oh,
Korg is awesome. It's fun to watch. They do
it's
such
very
a great
fun.
job with those. Um, I love how you finally get the mighty Thor,
You do.
and I love how they're having fun with that, and how you see Thor being torn between Stormbreaker and Mjolnir because now Mjolnir's back. Mjolnir, and you see Stormbreaker like looking at him like a hurt girlfriend. He's like, I was just talking to him. What?
It's an old friend.
It's just an old friend. I was just checking in. It's hilarious. It's fun to watch, but there's action and there's romance and there's just drama, and okay, you can say there's some cheesy parts in it. It's a comic book
It's
movie.
gonna be cheesy. It's
Are
not
you
real.
really gonna take it that serious?
It's
They're not gonna get an Oscar for it. Okay, it's not gonna happen. They
no.
only give that to certain people. It can't be considered a comic book movie to get an Oscar nod. It wasn't gonna happen. Like, so just go watch it. Have fun.
And
Like,
it's a fun movie. We watched it. We were cracking up. The whole part where he's in the temple of the gods and everything like that. He's got all the back tattoos of everybody. Like he's got the one for Loki and stuff
for
like that.
Loki, yeah.
And then obviously we see him strike Zeus and everything like that, and that causes all hell to break loose basically.
And then we get Hercules.
And we get that in the post credits too
Yeah.
as well. So that'll be awesome. If they do a fifth one, that's what it's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought Henry Cavill was gonna show up, but now we know why he didn't because of Deadpool.
Yeah, but that's okay because we'll talk about that on the next
We
episode.
will. Yes.
But yeah, and I think one of the best cameos in that whole movie was the Screaming Goats. I mean, I'm hoping they show up in the next one.
The whole in the movie theater, he was cracking up the whole time from that. It was
How
funny.
can you not laugh at two giant screaming goats and then Korg, you crazy freaking goat?
It's just a fun movie all around.
Yeah.
We get to see the growth of his character and everything like that. Um, it's just fun. And when he has a suit, I don't really care for the helmet, but like the rest of it was really awesome to see that.
Yeah.
I love the way they did the cape and everything like that. And I felt like we're getting closer and closer to Thor whenever he gets older. Like how cool his
Yes.
armor looks. Old Thor, his armor is my favorite.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because of how
Man.
settled he is and how much bigger he gets.
Yeah.
It's just so much cooler.
Well,
And
that's more comic accurate, in my opinion. And
I have a feeling after the fifth one is when we're going to probably end up getting Old Man Thor. When he's going to have the eye patch on.
looking
And he's
like
probably going
Odin.
to get that big old beard. And he's just going to have like the fuzzy on the corners. So I feel like we're getting closer and closer. And I think we're probably going to end up getting a new director for the fifth one.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Takiti Watiti.
It's the name.
It's his name, and I love him as a director and a writer and all that. But I just, at one point you do kind of bow out,
You don't want to do too much.
and I thought he did great with what he did for Thor. It was a total, revisioning
Brought
of
it
what,
back to life. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens. And Chris Hemsworth seems to be one of those guys. He's gonna have fun no matter what, and he's gonna do it until they tell him we don't want you to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He has fun with that character, and you can tell.
That one you have a little bit more wiggle room because he's can be alive for so much longer
Mm-hmm.
because he is a god.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting, definitely, to kind of see where he goes from here. And whatever comes out next, we'll go watch it, and
Oh yeah.
it'll be fun to talk about. But that will wrap up episode 20
20.
of the Future Podcast. We've hit a great milestone. Episode 30 will be our next milestone.
Yep.
The next coming weeks, we'll have one more for the MCU phases, and then we'll take a break until obviously they add more, because we'll probably end up doing this for a very long time. This will be one of the
Yeah.
mini series that will take for a while, and then after that we'll get into Christmas, different genres of movies, take a break from superhero movies, let our other fans indulge and everything like that.
Yeah.
But we enjoyed doing this. We'll see you on the next episode. We love y'all. Peace out.